Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin this review, I want to preface that going forward, when I review something that is either recent, new, in which it just came out, or something old, most of the reviews regarding recent new figures, I will not have the boxes for, mainly because I've been doing a lot of cleaning and a lot of rearrangements that certain boxes have been thrown out. And in this case, if you collected this line, you would know that these boxes are very generic in their presentation. So because of that, I don't keep many of the DC Multiverse boxes at all. Some of them I do keep, some of them I don't. And for that reason, there is there will not be an unboxing segment for this figure, as you can already see. So everything that he did come with is going to just be shown, and sometimes there will be an unboxing segment, in which case if I got the figure via Amazon and it arrived, I will definitely do an unboxing for that. But if it's something that I have already had for a month or two ago, before I started doing these type of videos, all of a sudden, bear in mind that this is just how it's going to be. There's no unboxing segment. So that is something that I want to clarify, which I don't know if people like the unboxing segment portion, if that's even needed, but I like doing it just because it's always nice to just crack open a new figure. But in this case, it's also nice to just look at a figure that's already been opened and has been on my shelf for like a little bit of time. So with this one, it's relatively recent because it did come out this year. And we are looking at none other than the Azrael in his bat armor. I have never read the Nightfall comics, so I need to do that. It is a very good comic from what I've heard in terms of Batman stories. I've only ever read Batman Hush and, of course, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Return. My comic history when it comes to reading comics is very mixed. There are certain popular ones that I've never even read at all, and I've only been introduced to it because they've adapted it into animation. Of course, like Flashpoint, that has been adapted into a movie. So why would I buy a figure for something that I've never read? Well, one of the main reasons is like what I stated in the last video with the Bane review. It's mainly because of the design element. I mean, even if you don't know anything about where this figure came from, being someone who just loves DC, this figure just looks amazing. It just looks cool. And it also captures this like period of time that where a lot of characters were designed with a lot of tubing. This kind of reminds me of how Apocalypse was designed, of a lot of that kind of like metal, these metallic lines, and then you have these wires or tubes. I don't know what these are, but there's this very significant like design element. And one thing that is missing on him right now, which I will bring in shortly, is what makes up this figure's overall design. But before I bring that in, I do want to do like a 360 kind of showcase of everything on him when it comes to sculpt, and it is really cool. So now that I've shown a little bit of that, I do want to let's actually show the hands. Yeah, the hand gauntlet, the arm gauntlets. I really like the arm gauntlets. So That is cool. Now, he doesn't have any interchangeable hands. He came with 6 pairs of what you would call his cape. I don't really know if you want to call these a cape. These red, sharp objects on his back. I don't know what they're called. What I can say, though, is that there's a lot of lines on here that could be panel lined. By panel lining, I mean darkening it so it kind of like stands out so it doesn't look so plain. Because right now this is just plain plastic, red plastic, and there's no like so for anyone who builds Gunpla, you can panel line certain parts in a Gundam. I think I could do the same with this, so it can kind of stand out. I haven't done it yet, but there's a lot of lines on here that could be traced with a sort of like panel lining black marker. So that's what I probably might do. But this goes on his back, and there are 6 of these in total, so they're all the same. There's no difference between them. And if you look on his shoulders, there are these peg holes and these, attachment areas. And if you take one of these, you notice that there is this peg right here and this square that goes on it. And when you put these on, let me show. So you align them right, you just push them in, and they stay in very nicely once they're pegged in. They are removable. They're not hard to remove. Hoping I'm showing this correctly. So once you put these in, the overall design of this suit from that comic, as I've seen from the source material, shines. This is the complete look of the design of the suit when everything is on. And he did not come with any other accessories. It was only just the wings. So, which I still think this is good enough. I don't know. Some people might disagree. They wish like he could have came with an extra pair of hands or something. But for what you're getting, sculpt wise, that's pretty good. Like that looks good, and that looks crazy on the back. Like, let me just flip. Yeah, there we go. That looks crazy. I don't know if this is supposed to be a cape. I really don't. But it is a design element. So I don't actually know why he looks this way. It looks like a robotic suit. As for his articulation, before I get into that, I will bring in the other figure, because this very figure is mainly a reuse of the first Azrael Nightfall mold, and they share a lot of similarities. It's pretty much the same figure. It's just been retooled slightly. If you are a collector of this line, you would recognize this figure right off the gate. And this figure, let's just say between these two versions, the one that came out this year was sold in regular retail stores. It was not an exclusive of any kind. But this blue version, which is based off of the other suit, this was a Walmart exclusive. And Walmart exclusives have a reputation in this line to be very tricky, or not tricky, very difficult to find in general. I think it's also the same for Marvel Legends. They are very... Walmart has always been a pain for me when it comes to looking for figures. Sometimes I will find something, sometimes I won't find anything. And if it's a Walmart exclusive, and if it's one that's very sought after, because for many reasons, it will not be there. I will not be able to find it. So Walmart has always been a hell for me, especially living in the places I live in, where it's very crowded, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people here that collect this stuff. It's very hard to find. And this figure, I only found this because there's a place in California called Frankincense, and it's not that far from where I live, but if you've ever been to Frankincense Roadshow Collectibles, you would know that sometimes you would find the stuff you're looking for there, and you would probably have to pay a little bit more than the usual retail price for said item. That is what happened with this guy. I found him there, and I had to resort to this option because I never found them at a Walmart. I went to so many Walmarts within the place distance that I could go to, because I'm not driving 3 hours to another Walmart, right? So he never showed up. I never found him, and I never got him online either because he sold out on their website, of course. So, like every Walmart exclusive does. Surprisingly, there have been a few that haven't, and they are actually on sale right now. But I don't really want those. So they are DC Multiverse figures, but I have no interest in them. So when it comes to those type of figures, you would find easily. But when it comes to something like this guy, it's not the same thing. So I don't even know how much this guy costs now. I paid like $60 for this from that seller at Frankincense, which is already a lot of money for a figure. $60 is not cheap, especially for something that retailed for $19.99 at the time. So yeah, never resort to that option unless you're really out of options. My recommendation is, if you ever can find this thing for retail price, like any sort of store exclusive that you're hunting for because you really want that figure, only resort to that final option if you are actually out of options and you are willing to give up. Because the next video after this that I'm going to record on the same day, because the stories overlap, is on a figure where it was the first time I hunted for something in a long time. And this was truly hell for me. And in the next video, we'll talk about this figure and why I had to look for this figure in particular. So that'll be the next video. This guy, I gave up hunting for because I just knew that it was not possible to find them. That is how much of a struggle it was getting this guy. But I was able to finally get him. And now we can do this comparison. So, as you can see, these two figures, their base bodies are the same. It's only just their top area that's completely different. And of course, the gold is more shinier on this one than this one. There's two different gold colors or yellows. So he has a longer cape, right? Flexible cape. It's not really hard. Oh, it is still soft PVC, but the good kind of soft PVC where it's not like impossible to bring out. And this was the only figure that had this mold for a very long time to keep it because at the time when he came out, a lot of Mcfarlane figures had original sculpting, which is what made this line so enjoyable, was that every figure that we got was very different in their design. It wasn't reusing a body constantly, or a body mold of a certain kind. And that will be another video in the future where I talk about reuse. The idea that reusing is sometimes good and sometimes bad. In this case, because this is the same character, I'm fine with them reusing the same mold, because I actually like the design of this mold and it works. So that is why they share the same for everything. So the base articulation for these two figures are pretty much the same. And this is where we can go into that before I bring them back in, if I need to. You have your arm swivel. Your arms can go into a T-pose. And what I did not show last time when I did this, swivel on the like shoulders right here, that can rotate. He has his double jointed, of course. He can do way better if I can actually, there we go. Now this gauntlet piece will probably hinder it. He has, of course, his rotation with the hands. There is a hand articulation, but because of the gauntlet, you're not going to really move that hand too much. Same thing with this side, right? Rotation right there, double jointed. All right, everything's the same. So articulation there. And then this is where the articulation for him is kind of different, and this was also another thing that was introduced later in the line with certain figures. He has an upper rotation. For my figure, it's very stiff right now because I haven't heated this up. Oh, but that can rotate, right? But he also has a bottom rotation. Oh, it's not in frame. So you have the upper rotation, so he can rock side to side. Then you have the bottom rotation, which is being covered right now by the flap underneath. That should be able to rotate. Yeah. But it's, again, it's very stiff, so I want to see if it works on the other one, just so I can show what I'm talking about. Give me a second. Yeah, it's also the same stiffness, actually. But there is a rotation down here underneath this, so he can do his waist rotation on top of the chest rotation. But both my figures are kind of stiff because I never heated these up. So, but they exist. It exists down here. I can see it. And his legs, they do kick out pretty good. They do have double joint, so that's a pretty good double joint. And then his feet, usual rotation there. It does rock back and forth, and that is a sculpted peg, not a ball peg. Toe articulation, standard. So, and another thing that these figures don't have is you can tell that they don't have die cuts. Usually, since they don't have die cuts, they do have upper die rotation, but not all the time. Some figures it works, some it doesn't. Like this one does not work. So that's not going to do anything. Unless you heat it up, you might be able to get it to move. But yeah, that is the articulation section for this figure. Oh, wait, not yet. His head. We can't forget his head. His head can look down and it can look up, which is pretty good. And it can go side to side. Rotation, it's going to stick out of that collar, but it works. Just do that again. So, yeah. Okay. So that works. So, his arms can move out. It can't go completely all around because of those shoulder pads that you see on him. So they're very pointy and sticking out. They're not sharp. They are soft PVC as well. So that is the articulation for this guy. In terms of what else he came with, if my memory serves me correctly, he came with a regular DC hockey plaque stand. I could be wrong, because it's been a while since I unboxed this guy. I don't know if he came with one or didn't come with one, but because I haven't shown this, if I haven't shown this yet, this is the generic stand that they all include most of the time. They're okay. I mean, it's nice that they come with them, but some people don't use them. I tend to use them, but since I've been putting everything away in storage just to organize for the time being and set up a newer shelf, these have been a nightmare to store. So there's a good and bad thing for having this. And he also comes with the bio card. So if you don't know who this guy is, you can also read the back if you want to pause it. My hands are shaking right now, but yeah, there we go. Still not used to holding things in front of the camera. There's that. So that's all he comes with. There is nothing else that was in that box, if I remember right. It's just those wings. They're not wings. I don't know what they are, but those sharp claw-looking things on his back are mainly the accessories. But I don't know if you can call them accessories when it's part of him. So this figure isn't just the only version. And this is where we get into this other thing that he's been doing a lot lately, which has probably made a lot of people angry. And I should probably save this for another video, another topic, but this figure has a platinum version. And a platinum version is basically a repainted version that exists. Call it a chase variant. Usually Funko Pops do this kind of stuff, or mystery bag type figures do this a lot, but they would have like another colored variation. He has another one, and it is also based off of a source material, I think, because there is a version of him that wears dark blue, and it's in the same mold, same figure mold. I don't have that one to show, but if you go on Google and just type in Mcfarlane Azrael Batman Platinum, or type that, you'll find an image of it, and it looks pretty cool. But I won't find that because platinum variants, or platinum chase variants as I like to call them, they are there's always one per case, and you cannot pre-order them. They are just random, and if you find one, it's pretty much like scoring a rare item, if you want to call it that. And there's been some issues with this in recent time, as of this year, mainly this year and little bits of last year. There has been more of these. And I will talk about the history of these in another video, because I have gotten platinums in this new form, or I don't know, I don't want to call it a new form, but in this variation with 2 figures, and I want to save that for another video. So, but if you know what I'm talking about because you collect this line, and you know how pain in the ass those are, fine. Even if you don't want them, or sometimes you do want them because there's a version of the colors that look better than the original, then you know what I'm talking about. And it wasn't like this before. It was not like this before. Collecting these figures before were more simplistic, and when he started doing all these other things, it started to become a nightmare in both a good and a bad way. So that is the one side of collecting this line that I do not like, because it feels kind of unfair for most collectors. I mean, there are some people that want to collect everything, and they can't even do that when something is so hard to track down because it's not even, you know, you can't even buy it online. Well, you can if you buy it through someone that, you know, found it and is charging higher prices for it. And another thing that has been difficult, especially now that COVID's has been gone, or not gone, but like we've moved away from that period when we were all locked in our homes. The collecting market has become more difficult to collect these things now. Things sell out more often. I don't know if it was like this before, because before I wasn't really collecting these things, so maybe it's always been like this. But this figure that we are looking at today sold out for a period. It went up in price for a good majority of time. Right now on Amazon, you could probably still get this for a regular price, but it will not ship the next day because of, I believe, because of stock issues. It is constantly selling out. It comes back up and then it goes away. So, and it's been like this for a numerous amount of figures that have been released in the past couple months. So yeah, that is the one side of collecting that has been quite difficult, and it's something that I had to get used to. I'm used to it now because, you know, it's been 4 years, I think, that I've been collecting. I don't even remember. So with that, that will be the end of this video. I don't know if I will do a review on this. I mean, I could, because he is a different figure. Well, not exactly, because somewhat they're the same character, but I will discuss him in the next video along with that particular figure when it comes to the subject of store exclusivity, the good and the bad, from what I can understand of them. It is my understanding of them. You might have a different take on them, and that's fine, but I have my grievances with store exclusives. So that'll be the next video. Until then, not happy. Have a good afternoon, and I will see you next time. Bye.